Whatever code changes that I have done inside the about component, I'm going to revert them so that we can focus on the actual proper solution. Let me press Command Z or Control Z inside Windows. So this is going to bring back to my original content inside the about component. Let me save this and go to the app.jsx. So inside the app.jsx, if you see, we're trying to load header and footer, and in between, we're trying to load the home component. As of now, this app component, it is always trying to load the same home component. Instead, if we can make this as a dynamic to load home component in the case of root path, or if someone is trying to access the about path, in such scenarios, we can load the about component. Somehow, if you make this middle component between the header and footer as dynamic component, then it is going to solve our problem. Let's try to understand how to do the same. And whatever I'm going to discuss, this is a most common design pattern that you see inside real applications as well. Because most of the real applications, they want to retain the header and footer for all kind of components or for all pages. The same we are going to implement inside our application as well. In case if you are trying to take notes of all these, don't do that, because for all the concepts that I'm trying to explain here, I'm going to mention all of them in the slides that I'm going to provide. Let me go to the main.jsx. Inside main.jsx, if you see, we have various paths. So what I'll do is, I'll try to keep these root path or base path as the main path, and remaining all paths, I'll make them as children of this main path. So we can do that very easily by invoking children property. To this children property, we can pass an array of routing definitions or routing configurations. So let me copy these all remaining paths as the children paths to the main path or the root path. So I'm trying to paste here. Here comes the tricky part. With these changes, we're telling to the React router library to always load these app component when someone is trying to access the base path. If the same end user is trying to access the other paths like about, home, contact, we're telling to load this child component as well. So this app component is always going to stay because it is the parent path. Since all the remaining paths, they are going to start with the same forward slash or the same root path. So all these child path components, they are going to be loaded under the app component. Of course, here instead of app component, we should load the home component, because for the home path, we want the home component to be rendered. Similarly, for the about, contact, login, and cart, the library is going to render the corresponding component. Now, let's go to the app component. Inside the app component, we want this header and footer to be always static or to be always same for all kind of pages. That's why we're not going to delete them. Instead, I'm going to delete the home component. So in between these header and footer, I want the React router library to inject the corresponding child element based upon the path that my end user is trying to access. This we can easily achieve by mentioning a component from the library with the name outlet. So first I need to import the same. So let me remove this home related import statement, followed by I'll try to import outlet from the React router DOM. If you see the documentation, this outlet, it is going to render the matching child route of a parent route or nothing if no child route matches. Let me import the same. Now I will try to mention this outlet component in between the header and footer. With these changes, now our problem should get resolved. Inside the browser, if I go to the root path, the home page is not appearing. We are going to fix that in few minutes. But if I click on this about, you'll be able to see in between header and footer, it is showing the about component content. Let's confirm the same for contact, login, and cart. So everything is working except the home page. So if I click on this logo, it is going to take me to the root path. Similarly, if I click on this home, as of now, it is not taking me to the home path. This is because inside the header.jsx, we have not mentioned the correct path. Let me open header.jsx. So previously, if you can scroll down in this file, for the logo, we have mentioned anchor href with the root path. In the similar lines, we mentioned the same path for the home link as well. But instead, I want to mention home here. Let me save this. Now, if I go to the browser, If I click on this home button, you'll be able to see the home component is rendered, because inside the routing configuration, when someone is trying to navigate this home path, it is going to render the home component, and the same will be placed in between this header and footer. That's why as soon as we click on this home button, things are getting rendered properly. But if I click on these easy stickers, the same home component is not getting rendered. This is because when someone is trying to access this route path, it is going to render the app component, but for the same route path, there is no corresponding child element. That's why it is simply trying to display header and footer. And in this scenario, the outlet, it is not going to show anything. To fix this kind of problem, there is a concept called index routes inside React Router library. Let me show you how to define the same. So just like how we have defined this child path, very similarly, I'm going to define one more path just above the home path. But this time, I will not mention any path. Instead, I will mention a property with the value true. The property is index. Once we define this index true property, it is like telling to the React Router library, when someone is trying to access this base path, please load this home component as well. In simple words, we can say these index routes are the default routes that are going to be loaded by the React Router library if there is no matching child path identified. So whenever we are accessing the base path, obviously we have not defined any path definition to match this base path. Since it can't find any child element or child component, the library is going to load the component that we have mentioned or defined under the index true path definition. So with this, now our problem should get resolved. Let me save this and go to the browser. This time, if I try to access the route path, I'm able to see the header, footer, and home component. Let me go to the home. In this path also, I'm able to see everything properly. No issues. Let me click on this about. It is working fine. Let me click on contact, login, cart, and everything is working as expected inside our application. But there is a problem right now with the code changes that we have done so far. If you click on any of the buttons or the links, the entire page is getting loaded. If you see this refresh icon, you'll be able to see the pages are getting reloaded. That means the pages are being loaded from the server, but not by the React rendering process. This is going to have some serious performance problem, because for every routing related action that we are trying to perform, the page or the component is being loaded from the server. Let's try to understand how to fix this problem in the next lecture.